Hello and welcome to the 44th episode of the Select Characters Podcast. I'm Sam Yates. I will be your host, and I'm joined here by a complete cast of characters. I've got Ryan Dildine.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
A little under the weather.
Yeah, I know. I noticed. You sound good, though. You got it. You still got
right.
it. Also, Enrique Cancel.
Hey, we're all here together.
Oh, man. Enrique, are you feeling okay?
I'm super.
Your voice is a little off today.
Yeah, it's a little bit of allergies and whatnot.
That's cool.
I hate spring.
Okay. Well, me too. Me too. And let's see, Christopher Anderson.
Hi.
And that rounds out everybody. We're all here. We're all ready to do this thing. Just a bunch of excited about spring guys.
I am, actually. I'm looking forward to the end of winter. I don't like the cold.
That's because you're a heathen.
I think spring's my favorite season, despite the current events.
See, Ryan's on my team. He understands it.
I get to thaw out after winter.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Well, let's see. It's nice outside, but we've been inside playing video games. So you want to talk a little bit about what we have been playing? It has been another excellent week for video games. Let's talk a little bit about what we have been playing. Let's start with, I guess, Ryan. What's up, Ryan? What you been playing?
Not a really exciting week for me. I was kind of bedridden a lot of it, so I just hopped into Counter-Strike because I had some free time, had a day off work, and I'm bad now. I haven't played Counter-Strike in about a month, and I went into, I know, right? I got into competitive with some of my friends, and it was bad. I went like 8-16, and we played the new Nuke map, which is awesome because it used to be really CT-sided. And now it felt to me, I only played one game on it, but it seemed like the terrorists were able to move around the map a lot easier. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I was doing this week. Just not a whole lot, laying in bed, trying to get better.
So
I always like Nuke.
It sounds like
Nuke.
they sort of switched the balance from the counter-terrorists to the terrorists.
Yeah. So Nuke used to be super CT-sided, and it was like, even in pro matches, it was pretty much like, whoever won the first pistol round, like if you were, on CT side and you won the first pistol round, you were pretty much guaranteed every round after that. And it was just really, really imbalanced. So they made a few adjustments, like some of the lines of sight for the CTs are a little more limited. And the CTs are more limited on their movement too, because there's certain areas of the map that are restricted now that you used to be able to get to. So like on A site, there was this kind of this ledge that went around the entire A site. So if you walked in, you automatically had the low ground, and it was pretty imbalanced. So they changed that, and they updated the graphics and stuff, and it's a lot more fun to play. Nuke used to be one of my most hated maps.
I would like to see, what's the one, Warehouse? I always liked Warehouse a lot, but I don't think it's in CSGO.
Warehouse. You mean from Source?
From like way back in the day. It's the one where it's basically just a warehouse and it's full of boxes. And if you're T's, you're inside it. And if you're CTs, you're coming from the outside trying to get in.
Yeah, I gotcha. I think they have that in CSGO.
Maybe they do.
I don't know. I wouldn't know. I only play like 4 maps. So
yeah, Dust 2. That's it.
Like,
all Dust 2 all the time.
I've played hundreds of hours of CSGO, and I couldn't name more than 6 or 7 maps because I just play the same ones. But oh well.
Cool. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Well, that sounds fun, man.
Dust 2 for life.
Let's cool. Let's move on. Let's talk to anyone else basically because it's random here. We've all been playing the same game, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Does anybody have anything that's not the Division before we move into the Division?
Not really.
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I have one just real quick just to get it out of the way here. Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time.
Oh.
It's a game that's a lot like regular human basketball, if you've played that one. It's so it's a co-op game. I was playing it with my wife. She likes it a lot. And everything in there is space, sci-fi, but also very love-themed. So
hence
you're
the
trying
title.
to yeah, hence the title. Like the exit to all the levels is like a big heart. There's like hearts everywhere, little bunnies and cute animals and stuff. But the game itself is really difficult, like really hard. You each control 2 people inside the spaceship, and it has 6 different stations. So you have like gun stations, and then you have an engine station where you're driving the plane, and then a shield station, and the game is just trying to move through these big environments, rescue all these animals, but trying to get to all the different places you need to be to handle whatever's happening at the time.
Right.
So kind of like a little management co-op run around inside a spaceship thing. It's adorable.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's called like the Ardor engine is the space-time stuff. It's clever. It's cute.
Yeah, it looks really good.
I think I'll probably pick that up. That looks really good.
It's a fun co-op game. It is good. And, normally you can kind of delegate in a way that she doesn't maybe have to be quite so good at video games. Like, she can just drive the ship or whatever. But it turned out, like, once we kind of got into it, we were both just taking as many roles as we can, like, working out plans. Like, okay, we need to go guns, engines, shields, how to work all that stuff out. It's a good little co-op
What's it called
game.
again?
It's called Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time.
Which is a great title.
It's a fantastic title, yeah. It's very bright. It's very colorful. It's a lot of fun. Okay. All right, so that's out of the way. Let's talk about The Division.
Yeah. Ryan, you have not played it, right? Do you know what it is? Or do you only have like a cursory knowledge of what it is?
No, so when I don't have money, I tend to avoid tantalizing myself with games. So right. I pretty much know nothing about The Division because I have very little money right now. So yeah, basically, I mean, explain it to me like you would to nobody, like somebody who doesn't have any knowledge of it.
Right. So some people probably listening in haven't played it or don't really know what it is either. Tom Clancy's The Division is a sort of MMO, but not quite, third-person cover-based shooter in a post-viral calamity Manhattan, where a weaponized version of smallpox was used to spread around the entire population as a sort of test or something like that, which descended the entire city into chaos. Gangs roamed the streets, and a special division of the government called The Division have activated sleeper agents present in Manhattan at that time, and thus your quest begins to restore order to a city where order is but a distant memory, essentially. And you do this by, well, basically playing a third-person RPG. You collect gear, weapons, you have levels, you have perks, you have talents, stuff like that. And there's a huge co-op component to the game. You can do all the story missions in a squad, and the matchmaking for that is actually quite good. It's the press of a button, you get matched with other players. Or you can just take your chances in a walled-off part of the city that was deemed too dangerous, called the Dark Zone, where there are roaming gangs of elite enemies that drop really expensive and powerful gear, and other agents can attack you, so other players can attack you and steal your stuff. It's actually pretty good.
Man.
It has been growing on me.
I want to play that game you're talking about.
You've not been playing the same game or the same division as I?
Apparently. I mean, it's fun.
I want to stop and just say that summation was incredible.
Was.
Yeah, I was actually impressed about how much you were able to recall at one time.
Thank you. It's probably more. Let's see.
I mean, I'm watching a video of it right now, and this is pretty much the first time I've seen any footage of it. And the first thing that strikes me is it looks beautiful.
Yeah,
I will give it that.
No, you can't really have that opinion. You can't, because they downgraded it, and it's literally unplayable now thanks to that. So you are wrong there. If the comment section on every YouTube video is to be believed.
Oh yeah, with the what's it called? The codec stuff with YouTube.
I don't know, dude.
They just downgraded it and people lost their shit. Although, to be fair, the downgrade isn't as substantial as people would like you to believe. It's mostly like UI stuff that has been toned down a little bit, and there's less items in the street and stuff like that. But other than that, it looks amazing. It's probably among the prettiest games I've played in recent memory, especially the lighting system and the way a snowstorm looks when you're walking through it at night is great. You can't see more than a few feet in front of your eyes and stuff. So every group that gets to jump on you really gets to jump on you. You know what I mean? It's impressive from a visual standpoint.
Yeah, the environment looks great. Like, I mean, it really looks like the city's been just torn to shreds, you know?
Yeah, and the level of detail there is also pretty amazing. This is the last thing, Sam, sorry. The art direction for the city itself was really, really great. I watched a bunch of comparison photos from screenshots within the game and like real world locations, and even unimportant locations of main streets and stuff have been faithfully recreated. There was one guy on Reddit who said, I followed my route to work, the one I walk to work every day, and the coffee shop I get coffee at is actually in the game. It's not the same name, of course, and not the same storefront, but it's just a mom and pop shop for coffee, essentially. And there is a coffee shop in that exact same place. So the attention to detail is insane.
Yeah, it's impressive.
I think, well, here's my opinion. It's a game with a lot of good stuff going for it.
Yeah.
But so much bad stuff that it almost drags down the good stuff.
Yeah.
How
It's
so?
like, because the high points of that game are very high, like the dungeons and the dark zone. And then everything else is just garbage. And I don't know why they can't just make a video game with the good parts. Like, just have the dungeons, and when you're not in a dungeon, guess what? You're in the dark zone. Like, done. Then it would be an absolutely phenomenal, incredible game. But the way it is now, there's like a whole section of just random running around the city bullshit that drives me up a wall.
Yeah, and there's no way to truncate the distances that you're walking either. You're all
No,
doing it
like,
on foot.
The first time you see like one of the guys clubbing somebody with an AK-47, you're like, whoa, I better stop that. But the 20th time, it's like, just carry on, sir. I'm just trying to get to my destination.
I don't know. That sort of stuff quickly became white noise to me, really. I mean, I saw it, and I didn't really view those NPCs as NPCs. I thought of them as loot dispensers, and I was like, all right, cool, I can get some more loot on the way to this other objective that I'm going to. So it didn't really bother me all that much.
Yeah, I wish they would just strip it all out. It's just dumb, and it like the side missions are uninspired and they're not fun. Like, how do I get on the roof of this building? Okay, how do I find my way through this apartment to get to this other thing so that I can activate the exclamation part? Cool, like, it's so dumb. I hate it so much. But like, the dungeons are incredible. It's some of the best environments and some of the best situations for firefights I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely.
It's just so cool, like the variety of situations and places that they put you in to, like, you know, oh, we all four have to get through this door and this entire room is filled with enemies and there's no cover for like 20 feet. Okay, what do we do? Like, just the dungeon design is so incredible that all the side stuff just really leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. But Enrique, why have you been playing a completely different game from me, or phrase better, why did you have a completely different experience from me?
I mean, Sam pretty much summed it up. Like, there's some really fun aspects of it, and obviously, I'm not hating it if I'm still playing. I mean, I think it's got some really cool moments in it, but I think that it reminds me a lot of other Tom Clancy games, namely like Rainbow Six. But because they kind of threw out into like the MMO kind of atmosphere of it, it's almost like they just stretch the game out, and what you have as a result is those very long pauses between events where nothing's happening. So you end up, like Sam was mentioning, running across the city, and it's tedious. You know, you see one or two guys maybe mugging somebody, or you'll have the random hobo walk up to you. It's like, give me a health pack. You're like, ugh, all right, fine, here.
Yeah, here's a BD. Thank you for the health pack.
Yeah.
Or for the soda pop or something.
Yeah, just random stuff like that. It doesn't really add anything to the experience, at least in my take. And it just feels like it's just white noise or filler content to kind of pull the wool over your eyes and stop you from realizing, hey, we really didn't really have anything for you to do here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I can see.
I mean,
that.
but it's got some great ideas.
Cell
like,
phones.
I love your little your mother base and like building it up with like the different wings with the medical, technical, and all that stuff. Like, that's really cool. The dungeons are fantastic. I think that's one of the best parts about it, where you have this environment design where like they took kind of like what Destiny did, but you know, obviously they don't have as much to work with Destiny, because with Destiny it's an alien atmosphere, so you can kind of make up and all these mechanics and pull them out of your ass and like, oh, this guy's going to shoot lasers from his crotch because that's what he does in his dimension, you know, whatever. And with this, they took a very mundane, you know, system, which is just, you know, people with guns. And they managed to kind of create this really great environment to complement it. And then you have those dungeons where, like Sam was saying, you're like, crap, we have to, make it out of here alive, but we're pinned down, we're surrounded. One of my favorite things is fighting, what are the cleaners, or the janitors they're called? Dude,
the cleaners.
It's one of like 3 factions. I wish there were
But like
more
the guys
factions.
with the flamethrowers, the fact that you can actually shoot the little tanks in the back of their, on their backs and they'll explode after a certain amount of time, like stuff like that is great when it comes to like the bigger picture of like, oh crap, like, hey, that sweeper is with 3 of his buddies. Let me see if I can like peg the tank on his back and like do some damage to those 3 guys. Or I was doing one where I actually knocked, like the little sticky grenade you have. I put up against the wall and we waited, and one of my guys actually kited 3 of the, I forget what they're called, guys with the baseball bats. He just kited 3 of them through the hallway, and as soon as he runs by, I set off the detonator and we took 3 of them out at once. I'm like, dude, that's so fucking cool.
It's the baseball furies. That's the 4th faction, is the baseball furies.
Yeah, but it's things like that where like, you have these really cool things, but I feel like they had to stretch out a lot of the in-between content. It just kind of created a lot of a dead zone, and not in the good way.
That's what I'm saying. Those side missions, they feel just uninspired. They really do. Go pick up this suitcase, and now you walk extremely slowly, carry it back, and put it inside the container.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Great. Like, you just had me, like, on top of a roof fighting guys as they came on like, sky bridges, or you just had me fight my way uphill for 30 minutes against 100 guys, and it was amazing. Now carry this briefcase into this box? Like, come on. What are you even doing? Why does this need to be here? But I have to do it because it's the only way to get the missing resources to complete your base.
Yeah, that's very true, actually, because I remember I had a mission where it was one of the research ones where you go into a building, you have to like activate 3 of the little, information boxes. You activate all 3 of them, and then the last bit is like, hey, get to this point on this rooftop, and you have to activate a box to upload the data to the cloud. You're like, all right, cool. And,
No, I wasn't. I never said, all right, cool.
well, no, see, like, this is the first time I did it, where like when you have that kind of like that nubile naivety, and you're like, oh man, okay, let's see where this leads to. And I climbed on the rooftop. I was walking around. That's the first time I met those sweepers, where I just see a group of guys with flamethrowers, cleaning out bodies on the rooftop. I'm like, I don't think this is gonna end well. And sure enough, they all turned on me, and it was really cool. You're like, oh, this is awesome. But then those moments started getting less and less interesting, and they started becoming more and more tedious, because then, like Sam was saying, you start realizing you're in a position where you're like, crap, now I have to go to another rooftop, play another really shitty treasure hunt trying to find these boxes, and, like hightail my way back out.
Well,
Yeah.
while I do agree that game does have a lot of, video game stuff, like it checks those open world boxes pretty regularly, I don't really view them as much as a negative thing as you seem to be. I mean, I get it, because it is tedious. It's just busy work, and all it does is elongate or artificially extend the gameplay, which, is hardly ever a great thing. But I don't really seem to mind that. I've got my own problems with that game, but it's not that. I mean, I gave the impression that I'm actually really, really positive about this game, but I'm very positive about a few things, and I'm just mildly entertained by the rest, as it were.
Okay.
Because,
Maybe you just haven't done enough, because like at the point I'm at, it's like it was designed by the best designers in the world, and then somebody's 6-year-old nephew.
yeah, it's
Like, they couldn't say no to someone to design things because they didn't want to upset the kid. Like, yeah, yes.
Like, okay, you handle the side missions, Tommy. Like, the good people are all going to focus on the dungeons and the dark
How
zone.
about we get a suitcase? All right, Tommy. Whatever you say.
maybe Massive did all the artwork and all the dungeons and stuff, and then just pawned the open world stuff off to Ubisoft Montreal, because this seems like their modus operandi.
They try so hard.
Through and through. Yeah,
I will say this though, I really like that with the echo locations in the game. I think that's a neat way to kind of get the narrative through.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, the echo locations are the spots that you can actually find throughout the world, and when you stand on them, it kind of activates this 3D map where supposedly it, I guess, downloads all the data from the cloud, and it puts like this 3D hologram space around you, so you can see what took place in that area. And it plays like an audio file, and you can kind of walk around, scan the little like hologram models, and read bios on certain people, so you can kind of fill in some of the stuff that's been happening up to that point. So I think that was a really cool way to kind of get that kind of hidden lore that's not really throughout the game.
Yeah, it does a decent job at world building, and the voice acting is quite good as well. So it comes across well enough, I think. I want to talk about the Dark Zone for a bit, if you don't mind, because Ryan,
Sure,
I've got a story for you.
Go for it.
So the Dark Zone is that walled-off area, right? I mean, the entirety of Manhattan is fucked up already. Like, there's no law there; it's fucked up. And the Dark Zone is so fucked up, they just threw up a wall around it and left people within it to their own devices. You can go there, and it's the PvPvE zone of the game, where you can collect gear and you have to extract them and stuff. So I was fighting this group of rioters, and I got a new gun of them, an epic gun, or what's it called in the Division, the purple ones. I think it's superior quality or something like that. I found a superior quality gun on one of their corpses. And when you have gear, you want to extract it from the Dark Zone, you have to go to an extraction point and call in a helicopter, right? Because you can't bring the contaminated gear with you until it's been decontaminated. So you go to one of those points and you shoot up a flare. The flare will alert roaming gangs in the near vicinity, but also other agents. And when a helicopter comes, you can submit your stuff to the thing and it flies off and it decontaminates it and stuff. But more than one player can be there at the same time, and they can give that stuff to the helicopter as well. Even though there's no real big incentive to do so, you can go rogue, which means that you can just attack other players and then you become wanted. So you basically open season for all the other players in the vicinity, right? If you manage to kill someone else, you can grab their stuff. They lose all their stuff. They lose a bit of experience. They lose the money that they had acquired up to that point, and now it's all yours. So when you go to an extraction point, it becomes a really tense situation when you're not the only player there.
But I thought you only lose the stuff that you've gained in the Dark Zone.
Yeah. You don't lose all your stuff. You lose your stuff that you got up to that point in the Dark Zone, like all the contaminated stuff. You lose that. So when you're there and there are other players there, it becomes a very tense situation while you're trying to come across as non-threatening, while at the same point positioning yourself in such a way that if one of these motherfuckers dares to shoot at you, you can actually defend yourself.
Yeah, you can counter.
And that is fantastic. It leads to these Mexican standoff situations where you're not really sure what the other ones are going to do, and they are looking at you nervously as well, like shuffling around, constantly watching where you're going while you're watching where they are going as well.
I'll say this, man. One thing that I really like about the Dark Zone is, all right, you play DayZ, so one of the things you can probably agree with is like the biggest problem with DayZ is just the kind of like kill on sight mentality that's kind of pervaded the game, right?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like how it is now. There's really no way to change it. It's just, if you see a player, it's like you're playing a zero-sum game. And like you're just better off shooting the other player rather than risk yourself getting killed.
Yeah.
So when you first walk into the Dark Zone, since it's open PvP, you kind of start off with that feeling. But because of that little inclusion of like the rogue system, when you meet somebody, they have to make the choice that if they shoot you, they will get flagged as a rogue. And it's based on time. I think if they do one shot at you, it's 20 seconds. And that's kind of to give people like the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, I'm sorry, man. Like I just itchy trigger finger. After 20 seconds, it'll go away. Yeah. If you actually, keep pursuing it and you actually shoot a person and kill them, you'll get, the timer will start, it'll even higher. And then you can actually go around and kill more people. And if you do that and you manage to actually survive long enough for the counter to go back down, you actually get a lot of rewards out of it. You get, I think I forget what it's called, but you get like the currency in the zone, you get some extra XP, your rank increases even more. So there is it's kind of like that challenge you get from it. But on the same side, by doing that, you actually also show up to other players with a skull in your head. And I think if you do it long enough, they issue a manhunt, which is almost like a bounty on your character. So it kind of creates this really cool tension where, if you want to actually engage in that kind of behavior, there's this really big penalty, but also a reward. So it fits a really nice niche where I guess for the thrill seekers that like that kind of combat, I think it rewards that, but at the same time, you don't have to engage in it, and there is a very clear penalty. So it really dissuades that kill on sight mentality that you had in DayZ, and it creates something I think more organic in response to it.
Yeah,
plus, because if you get shot
while you are a rogue agent, and if you die, you lose a lot of experience, like a lot.
And the other people get a little bit more reward out of it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I haven't even really seen that many rogue agents, like to the point where I get excited when I do see one because I want to try and kill them. But overall, I haven't really seen.
Sam,
a
it sounds like there's a hole you need to fill.
Yeah, I think so. But what I do like is when people are grouped up and not in a party, they're just running together, but then one of them accidentally shoots his buddy, so now he's rogue, and I can just run in and take him down. And he's like, "Oh no, wait, I didn't mean to," and just like dead. But it's like all the PvP with none of the consequences, and his friends are like, "Oh, sorry, man, we like because they don't want to attack you."
Did you hear? I guess what people have been doing to circumvent that. Apparently, there's a little technique people have been doing where you can run up to players and just shoot at them, but not actually shoot them. You just shoot around them, like their feet, or maybe graze past their head. And you freak them out to the point where like they think you're trying to hit them and you're just a shitty shot, and then they'll shoot you, and then they'll flag themselves as rogue, and then you can kill them with clear conscience.
That's the best way to do it.
It's a bit cheesy.
I do like that stuff. Yeah, but in general, I just see people just cooperating. Really,
I mean, that's the kind of cool part. That's what I was saying. Like, it breeds an environment where people are more likely to actually work together. At the very least, just help each other out rather than just the kill on sight you see in a lot of other games.
Yeah, I really like that. I think the Dark Zone bit is why I will be playing that game for quite some time to come, because those situations are always really tense, and it doesn't get any less tense as well, because you never really am able to predict or are able to predict what the other people are going to do, because they're people.
Yeah, and I will say this though, man, like that extraction thing, it's really cool but really like stressful, because when that helicopter comes in to pull your stuff out, it can only carry 5 people's worth of gear out. So because of that flare shoots out, let's say you're wandering around and you see a flare, in your mind there's always that reaction like, crap, that's a free ride for me. So it's very likely for players to just rush to where that is, and at that point you don't really care whether you go rogue, because as long as you get your gear out, it doesn't matter, you can die. So people can and will shoot you to get you out of that extraction zone so they can jump in and get their stuff set to safety. And it just becomes like the biggest kick in the nuts when you realize that some guy not only killed you, but he used your chopper to kind of take his supplies to safety.
Yeah, I did that to some other dude. He was the only one at an extraction zone, and I was really close with a shotgun.
Man, there's room for 5 people, really?
My worst thing is that a couple times, I'll call in the helicopter and then turn around to shoot some NPCs or something, and then everybody will fill up the rope. And I'm like, man, I called that thing. What are you doing? And then I got to call another helicopter. One time it happened twice in a row, and I was just like, man, this is bullshit. That was my helicopter. I called it.
I called dibs.
Jerks. Like, that should flag you as a rogue when you just take all the spots on somebody else's helicopter, and I got to stand there for another minute and a half or whatever.
Yes.
Well,
90
Sam,
seconds.
situations like that make that trigger look real friendly, don't it?
Well, especially the sticky bomb when you're looking at like 6 people all trying to get on the rope, and it is very.
Can I say how much fun that sticky bomb is? Just shooting people in the nuts and then just detonating it.
They start like ripping it off of them later on, but it doesn't matter because the blast zone is pretty big.
Yeah. Man, I like the turret more. You can set up a turret somewhere and then go around the enemies that you're fighting and just pop an incendiary grenade right behind them so they can't really go anywhere else. That's really satisfying.
Fun. Yeah, I like the seeker mines too. They're like little
the BB-8s.
grenades that follow you around. Yeah, they roll towards people.
Yeah, those are really cool as well.
Yeah, dude. Overall though, the game's got some really solid mechanics in it. It's fun enough to play. It's just, I don't know about you, Sam.
And the guns feel great.
For sure.
They're like shooting the guns.
Dude, and the modding
amazing.
system is great too.
Yeah,
like attaching to different scopes and just muzzles and and I guess it's not the perfect like holy trinity you see in like standard MMOs, but you do have that kind of. There's a healer style tree, there's a tank style tree, and there's like a DPS style tree. Yeah. So I think that they adapted it really well. Like I said, I don't know about you, Sam, but my biggest complaint with the game is that there's not enough of the fun stuff. If that makes
that is my biggest complaint. Have it just be dungeons and Dark Zone, right? Like problem solved. I don't know why they thought they needed to waste time.
That would have been so amazing if just normal regular New York was just an entire Dark Zone. That would have been amazing.
It seems like the easiest idea. It's like actually less work than what they did.
Yeah, but you sort of want to give people a safe place. If they just want to go around and scrounge up, supplies.
There's
and stuff.
safe houses in the Dark Zone.
Yeah, that's true, but sometimes you just really want to be left alone while you're just getting electronic parts or gun parts from some places, and you don't really want to run into groups of players everywhere you go because, that might really stifle your enjoyment if you run into 5 or 6 groups full of assholes in a row and you just get gunned down. You don't get to the end of the street, I can sort of understand why they did it, but I would have liked it if there was a little bit more of that dark zone, even though the dark zone is like 1/3 of the map.
I do love the dark zone though. Like that bounty system or like the rogue system is great just because of the fact that it'll show up on your mini map. So at that moment, that if you're approaching, someone's going to shoot you in the back, pretty much.
Yes.
I think all that stuff is there just for like masturbatory reasons, so they could be like, well, look, we realistically modeled New York. Now we have to fill it with like 36 cell phones and a bunch of drones and just crap that you can collect.
I don't really mind that really, because it's a really pretty city and I like walking around in it and see the sights and
Boo.
stuff.
Boo.
Yeah, screw me for liking things.
That's right.
One thing, that's my closing thing that I wanted to talk about here, in terms of the Division. The story, while the premise is incredible and the setup is really good, they fill it up with these characters that are bordering on comical. Some of them are cool just because they're cool. The cool one-liner, look, we're Americans and we're the police and we're going to do this stuff. You got tacti-cool people, essentially. And then you've got your handlers in the different save zones who are all fucking morons. One of them actually...
I like those. I think those guys are all awesome. Those guys are the best part about having to do all the side missions.
They are fucking terrible. There's one dude who's sniffling constantly, who's supposed to be this military man, who sends you out to get like air purifiers or some shit because of his asthma. What are you talking about?
You got the sniffly guy, and then there's the real sardonic lady who's
what?
Giving you shit the whole time, like, yeah, I guess you could if you can handle it, whatever. There's some guys.
I was still trying to wrap my mind around her. I couldn't tell
guys.
that was a real character or if they just kind of phoned in the performance.
There's a different one for.
Yeah, I feel like that with every single one of them. There's one guy who used to be a movie, like an actor, and he will remind you of that every fucking chance he gets. Like, yeah, I used to play a secret agent on my show. If you want some pointers, let me know. Guy who is out in the dark zone for days while I'm standing here in a cafe.
I thought those guys were pretty funny.
No, it just doesn't gel well with the really serious tone of the rest of the game. And then there's a guy who's a super fan of Division agents who just gushes at the mere sight of you. Come on.
I thought that was a cool break.
It feels so dissonant.
That was a cool break of pace.
It feels dissonent. Man. No, it's not colorful.
There's a lot of different people in the world. Dude, everything about that game is dissonant. Like, those guys were fine.
No, I really don't like it. And just the writing is absolutely atrocious, in my opinion. But
you know what I do think would be cool, though? Like, if there was somewhere where you could fight that was just brand new. You sort of get, like, in the later missions, you start to get to places that are cleaner, but they've still been touched by the plague. I just want to go into, like, a completely untouched department store and get in a firefight. Because the environment destruction is so fun in that game, and then just to see it afterwards would be the coolest thing.
Enrique, what do you think of the performance of the game on the PlayStation 4? Because I have some complaints there.
It's good enough.
The frame rate is
the texturing bothers me though, man. Like it's
yes.
I don't know. It's weird because it's in this strange in between spot where it's irritating sometimes when it ruins your immersion, but at the same time it's just downright hilarious. Like the first time you meet that, I guess the Asian lady, the handler. When I see her, when I saw her, it looked like she had the thing just crawling on her face because I guess the game couldn't decide on her race, so it kept like changing. It was like this weird ooze just going up and down her, like the texture of her face changing the color of it, and I was like, "What the hell? Am I tripping?" I felt like I was.
It's got some texture streaming problems, definitely. A lot of stuff that doesn't load in until you're standing right in front of it for about 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, but then again,
suddenly in pops the high quality one.
Yeah, but then again, when you look at what all the little things that are all over the place, I can see why it kind of chugs a bit on the system.
Yeah, I do, but. It's still, very, very glaring.
Yeah,
but other than that,
yeah, I mean, it's not bad enough to ruin my enjoyment of the game, kind of thing. It's not broken to the point where it's unplayable.
Yeah. Did the audio cut out for you as well?
Yes, I thought that was my headset at first, and then I switched to just like the standard audio on the TV. But yeah, that's one thing. There's the ambient noise will sometimes just cut out randomly, and it sounds like someone's trying to talk to you, but just gets cut off. And that was a little bit jarring.
Yeah, it's really weird. Yeah, it's very strange. That should not be there. I hope that gets addressed because it happens more often than I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, I just mute the game.
No, can't do that.
It ran perfect for me. I have no complaints.
Yeah, Mr. PC Master Race.
It was very pretty, and the frame rate was solid. There were some parts where I kept falling through the world. I had to log out.
Haven't had that yet.
Yeah, I did that once. Oh, we need to talk about. Well, it's not really a bug, is it? But the queue.
The line at the very beginning.
Yeah, for the people that don't know, there's a laptop that you need to engage with in the tutorial to get your status as a division agent, but collision detection in this game is on. So when somebody is using it, nobody else can use it, and because of the amount of people logging in on the very first day, it means that all the instances were filled up. So you walk into that fucking room and see like a very neat line of people, like 20 people, just standing there in a row waiting for the first one to finish working on the laptop.
That was incredible. Yeah. I think they fixed it now, but oh my god, that was so good. As soon as you open that door, you're like, oh my gosh, I just got my watch lit up. It's time for me to go join the division. You open the safe house door and it's just a line. I was like, yep, that's great.
The fucking realism, the paperwork involved. You actually have to do it. Yes, bureaucracy.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That was definitely a high point for me. It was just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Like, I love the screenshot that I saw from the PC version with a ton of people standing in line, and there's just one guy in the chat just saying, "This is the division." I thought that was amazing.
So real.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, man, I think it's good. I mean, I've voiced all my complaints, but the parts that are good, very good.
Very, very good. It's a solid
parts
base.
That suck, super suck.
Yeah, it's a very solid base, and they've shown that they are willing to listen to the player base and implement fixes rather quickly. So let's hope they keep on doing that and make this game into a great game instead of a decent game with some fantastic parts, because the base is there.
Yeah, in the next expansion, they're actually combining with Earth Defense Force.
Oh man, dude, I would throw money at the screen for that.
I mean, are you tired of shooting people? Because I'm getting a little tired of shooting people.
I've had 30 years of shooting people.
I'm kind of done. It doesn't do it for me anymore. Or at least some more factions or something. Like, they're really limited in only having
man. Well, it's like we were saying. Like, I feel like an eccentric millionaire that is just tired of shooting people, and I need to move on to the next prey.
Something would be good. I know a lot of people do appreciate that kind of realism, and there's like one fight at the very end where it's not people. You get to fight something else, but it's still very grounded in reality. Okay, yeah, it's Tom Clancy. I get that. Like, that's all cool, but
you fight Tom Clancy.
I do like a little variety. Yeah, you fight Tom Clancy. That's the final boss of the game. Oh my god, that's a great idea.
He's just a pastiche of all his books and games.
That is the last complaint that I need to get out there. But I like it. I'm still playing it, so I guess I can't complain too much.
I'm gonna play it right after we finish the podcast because I'm wanting to do some more Dark Zone stuff. But looking at the time, should we maybe talk about something else?
Yeah, let's talk about something else.
Let's
do that.
So whenever I buy games on Steam and all that, one of the things that I like to do is look at the user reviews. And it's kind of cool because you can also see the time played for each user, so you can kind of gauge whether or not, the person has room to speak. But I was actually thinking about it too, and it got me kind of wondering that, does the amount of time you spend in the game automatically equate to authority over it? Like, just because you've played a game for a certain amount of time, does that make your opinion more valid than somebody that has played maybe for half the time you did? I was kind of curious to see your thoughts.
So just for the sake of argument, take an extreme position on this and say yes, and we work from there. Because when you play a game for a certain amount of time, logic dictates that you sort of understand what you're doing. You know the systems, and you obviously know how to exploit them at least a little bit for
Do you
to
really?
make it that far.
Because what if you're playing for so long because you just can't get the hang of it, and you're just really determined?
I think that is a very small part of the player base, at least. I mean, you're not playing something for 50 hours because you don't really understand it, I think.
Not generally. I don't know,
No.
man. I guess up to a certain point.
Yeah,
There's-
there's got to be a ceiling.
Because, like, after a certain point, you've already made your opinion, and all those extra hours
Mhm.
aren't. They're just reinforcing what you already decided.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
diminishing returns on it. Like I think after a certain amount of time, they shouldn't really add into anything else. Because I mean, I've played a couple games that I've only maybe played once, and I'd say that I understand pretty well, and I'm pretty good at them, and I can give a really good, well-informed opinion on it versus somebody that's played the game for maybe like 1,500 hours.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I play Civ 5, and I've played it an awful lot over the past couple of years. I would not be the right person to tell you if that game is good or anything, because I don't really understand a lot of the systems. I don't understand what the modifiers do. I don't really bother with building, was it wide or high? I don't do any of that stuff. I just pick and choose stuff that sounds good to me and go from there. And sometimes that pans out and sometimes it doesn't. I've played it for a long amount of time, but to say that I fully understand that game to a degree where I have some sort of authority over telling if the game is good or bad or neither, I don't think so.
I think if you just want to tell me your opinion, I liked this game, I didn't like this game, then I don't care if you played it for 15 minutes. But if you want to actually speak to the quality of the game overall, I think maybe you need to have played it a certain amount, which is why generally review sites ask people to finish the game before they write a review, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why usually for most sites, they'll usually get the game out, I think, about a week or so before the embargo date lifts. So you have about a week's time worth to play the game.
So I definitely think that in that case, yeah, absolutely, definitely. If you've played it more, then you know more about it. But that can change based on the game. There are some games that are very short, and the fact that you played it 100 hours just means that you played the same thing 100 times in a row.
Yeah, it makes me, I mean, when you mention that, it makes me think of League of Legends and how there's players in bronze who, have thousands of hours in the game, and I mean, I guess this goes for any competitive game. You're going to have people at the bottom of the ladder who have put a ton of time into the game, and then you'll have a pro who, kind of popped into the scene within the last year,
Right.
and they don't have as much playtime as that lower rated player, but they're going to know, they're obviously going to have way more authority over the game, and they're going to know what they're talking about more versus, that lower rated player despite the time.
I think it also depends on your mentality when you go into the game, because, I mean, from a game reviewer standpoint, I think that you have a game reviewer and a casual player. If they both, if the game reviewer plays the game for, let's say 20 hours versus the casual player that plays it for 200 hours, I think the game reviewer is probably going to have, I guess, a different insight and have different focuses on what they're going to be talking about and what they look for in the game itself.
Well, yeah, they look for the fastest way to get an understanding of all the game system in order for them to judge it correctly. So,
and actually, I mean, if you have enough of a catalog, if you have enough reference points to speak to, if you've played a ton of video games, then you almost don't need as much time in it.
Right.
If you can recognize what you see and sort of be able to relate that to something else, and it's basically, it hits that point for point, then you could almost have a perfectly valid opinion without playing it very much at all.
yeah, it's that learned behavior thing all over again, isn't it?
Yeah. Because often video games don't dramatically change themselves in the middle. They don't become something totally different. It's just more of what it was in the beginning, or maybe in a slightly different way, but not like a radical redesign or anything.
Yes, I mean, like, I guess with that, I mean, you could technically say that, maybe time invested in the game doesn't necessarily mean that somebody can be an authority on it in that sense.
Yeah, it does matter. I don't maybe dispute the amount of weight to put on it. It just doesn't. It factors into the total equation, but it's not the end all be all of whether I think you have a good opinion or I trust your judgment.
I mean,
or not.
Like, what do you think that sweet spot is? Like, is it a couple of hours? Is it a couple of days worth of time? Because, I mean, I've seen reviews on Steam where somebody's played the game for 15 minutes and somebody's played the game for like 1,500 hours, and they could both be like completely dead on and agree on the same point. So it's kind of like, okay, that's kind of interesting on there.
Yeah, and well, I guess it's also different with positive and negative. Just if we assume the perfect world where the hours played is the actual hours those people played, because obviously you can leave the game open or whatever, but I don't think that helps for this argument. But somebody who's played a game for 1,000 hours and writes a glowing positive review of it, I trust that they did really freaking like it.
See, but yeah. And I think at that point, though, I would almost question their judgment, though, because I feel like when you spend that much time on it, I wouldn't trust you to give me an objective view on it, because at that point, you're basically just gushing over something that you spend, 1,000 hours playing.
Oh, I see.
Do you need an
back.
objective review in that case, though? Because if you want an objective review, you go to a publication to read about that, don't you?
Well,
if you read the consumer reviews, you're usually trying to find out if the game is fun.
I guess, I mean,
You're
that's
looking for
kind of
initial hook.
That's just, I don't know. I feel like semantics, because, I mean, I do look at community reviews in a way, because I think that in some ways they can be a little bit more objective than publications. Because, you have people that aren't beholden to any agenda. They're playing the game just because they want to play the game. Versus, you're doing it as an assignment or as part of like your job. It's, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that any one is more valid than the other, but I do think that you can still get a certain amount of objectivity from just the regular user reviews, because they don't have to answer to anybody. They're just posting their opinion. They're just like, hey, I didn't like this game. Here it is. Or like, hey.
I don't really think that argument can be applied fully to this, because there's a thing I've only found out recently about this, but apparently it's a really big thing. You've got like $5 websites like Fiverr, where you pay somebody $5 and they do some small thing for you for that price, right?
Yes.
Well, apparently there is a growing industry of people giving Steam reviews for money, just normal jackoffs like you and me. So the waters are more muddied than you think. And I think that put that on even footing with publications, who all of their own biases as well. And now there are quite a few players making a pretty penny out of being biased towards the positive for a developer who pays them. So I don't really think that is a good metric anymore.
Can you pay somebody for negative reviews?
Probably.
I'm sure there's some kind of like corporate sabotage thing you could do, but
counter sabotage. I guess if you break it down, we would be looking to focus on the thing. You'd have 4 categories, right? You have positive reviews, short time, long time; negative reviews, short time, long time, and just how we felt about those different things. Like where are the main points in there? And I think short time positive, I don't exactly trust, because in that situation, a lot of games have a lot of shine in the very beginning.
Right. It's like that. Yeah. You get like that initial, they blow their load at the very beginning.
And short time negative, maybe I trust that more in a way. They might not know what they're talking about, but they definitely mean it.
Yeah, that's true. They recognize something they didn't like immediately.
I mean, why is that not true for the inverse, though? I mean, if you recognize something that you do like within the first hour, how is that less valid than finding something you dislike in the first hour?
And that is an excellent question. That's sort of where the trick comes in. I guess I expect that games have to come out strong, or they should, and that they normally do, but it's often... I guess it depends on what you're looking for, right? Do you want something that you're going to play for a long time and like the whole time? Or what?
Yeah.
I think almost because it's a quicker fall from praise to critique than it is to have the climb from critique to praise. If that makes any sense.
I guess.
Like if you have, like somebody giving you an initial positive opinion is more likely to change that to negative as time goes on than somebody with a negative opinion changing it to positive.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's because people's tendency to focus more on negative than the positives, though.
I guess not only that, but I think it's just exposure. Like if you have a game and somebody says, "Oh man, this this one mechanic is really unique and really cool. I love it." 5 minutes into the game, and then at maybe an hour or 2 hours into the game, they realize, man, this mechanic, they didn't do anything else with it. It's they've only done the same one trick over and over again. Versus, like I've played games where, within 5-10 minutes of it, they're like, man, this is really irritating. Like this mechanic doesn't work right. And it usually stays true 80% through the game, like almost the rest of the game. I'm like, okay, you know what? I still don't like the way they're doing this.
But in that little graph, like that little bar graph, I know that there's more trust on the long side of both of those opinions.
Oh, yeah,
I
for
trust
sure.
long positive
Yeah.
and long negative more than I trust short of either. So there's obviously something to the amount of time that somebody has played, like as far as your evaluation of their evaluation, how much you believe that what they're saying is true. There's something to that, to the amount of time. But there's also a cutoff point where if you've played it for 50 hours or 1,000, both of you people are equal to me
Yeah.
in what you're trying to
Yeah,
say.
There's
like-
a ceiling to it.
And
for sure.
like it's you start reaching that point of diminishing returns where after a while, like the time played, it just keeps accumulating, but you're not really going to add any value and insight like to that time.
Yeah. So
Like,
what do you
got
guys?
all the juice out.
What do you guys think about like you people who've played a lot of hours and then they'll go shit on a game?
What do you mean?
There must
Like,
have been something that really bummed them out near the end to say after
Yeah,
like 400 hours,
like,
like fuck
how-
this game.
I don't. Yeah. So is it? I don't know. Like, is it okay to play like 400 hours of a game and then get out and say that game sucked because obviously you kept playing it?
I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's okay because you could be one of those people that just plays it for the on principle, like fuck this, I'm gonna beat this game, or like I'm gonna try
Yeah.
to find something redeeming from it, or I'm gonna try every single combination of things that I can to see if I can find some good redeeming quality from it, and then at the end of it, you come out saying like, man, I tried and I cannot find a single good thing about it.
yeah, but who outside of their job has time to do this? If you're just
Yeah.
a regular consumer, why? If
I mean, I
your
think,
time
dude,
is
it's-
limited in between work and just chill out time, essentially. Why do you take an inordinate amount of time to find a redeeming quality in a game that you obviously don't like?
I think we don't
Yeah.
we don't see it
Theoretically,
as
these
much.
are the people writing the reviews. So
Yeah.
maybe they take the time so that they can write their thing on Steam.
Well,
I don't know.
not just that, but I mean, I don't think we'll see it as much now because of Steam like refunds. But I think there's that kind of buyer's remorse or commitment afterwards that you spend the money in a game and you're like, man, fuck, I dropped like $20-$30 on this. Like there has to be something good on it. I don't want to just say that I got a crappy game out of it.
Yeah.
Is it really bad though? I mean, everybody makes a bad purchase in every now and then, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know. Like I, from personal experience, I know that there's been a couple of titles that I've been disappointed spending money in, and I've kept playing it just to see if I can find that one justification for it, saying like, oh, you know what, it was okay at the end, and I've come out with it saying like, man, that was just a complete waste.
It's also their like how they relate their time too. If it's 400 hours and the review says this game was boring, most games are boring when you get to that point. Or for me anyway, or are they willing to look back and say, okay, let's roll this whole experience together and give something, like not my opinion right now, this very second, but my opinion at the beginning, my opinion in the middle, my opinion in the end, all sort of wrapped up together, I think is where you would be more, I don't know, truthful, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, those reviews are kind of rare though. Like they're really well thought out, and I guess textured reviews aren't really a dime a dozen.
I mean, I think it also depends on the genre though, because I think somebody playing a game like Counter-Strike or Team Fortress, just one of those really quick, or even Rocket League, they're those quick instant gratification games. I don't think you need to sink in 30-40 hours to give me to hit the highlights on that.
Oh yeah, but that's definitely true.
There's not-
yeah, some games are just set up in a way where you can get a full grasp of the width and depth of a game in like 30 minutes.
Yeah. Versus like strategy games or RPGs, things like that, where there's more subtle nuances that require that time investment for you to kind of see whether or not the investment of your playtime is paying off.
Yeah, I guess so.
I know.
Or what's crazy is I remember Ryan talking about League of Legends earlier. Like that game is almost an entirely different game. It's the same, but somebody who's played that for 1,000 hours and somebody who's played it for 5 are almost playing different video games.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
100%.
true. For sure. I mean, yeah, and you see
Even
that with
I-
MOBAs in general, though, like Heroes of the
I mean-
Storm, Dota 2, all that.
Even pro players will say, going from LAN to solo queue is a totally different game. And then going from
Yeah.
high level solo queue to mid level solo queue is a totally different. Like every tier you go down, it's everyone. Yes, they're playing the same game, but yeah, you're right. They're totally different games in each tier.
And I don't think
Yeah,
that's an exaggeration at all.
No, not at all.
No, it's not.
Oh, sorry.
Do you,
Oh, that's it.
do you think at
Go
that point it kind of has to do more to do with the meta, though?
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's really hard to sort of judge those games over any sort of period of time because with a meta that evolves that quickly,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the game could feel and act completely different 6 months from now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you quantify all those changes? Because the reviews and the public perception of those games will always be changing.
Or, I mean, how do I come at it and go, you know what, I want to play this game. I need to find a review for somebody who's kind of going to like it and play it sometimes. I don't want to know what a pro thinks about it. I don't want to know what a beginner thinks about it. I just need a slightly above average player. Okay, now tell me what this game is.
And hence why people go towards those community reviews as opposed to the ones that are like publications and all that.
I don't know. I don't usually use community reviews to make purchase decisions. I'd rather go to a writer or to a YouTuber whom I know likes similar stuff to me.
I don't know.
And just
Well, yeah, I mean,
I have to.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with going towards people that have a similar opinion because that's just common sense. But I don't know. I made a couple of impulse buys where I'll look at just community reviews simply because you know what, I want the opinion of somebody that is just playing this for the sake of, hey, that's a game I picked up. Let me see what it's like.
Yeah.
It's rough out there. A lot of the games I play, I have to take whatever's on Steam in the community review because I can't find anybody from a website who's ever reviewed it, and the people I really like almost certainly have never played it. Mm-hmm. So, you get what you get, I guess.
Yeah.
And that will bring us to the conclusion of episode 44 of the Select Characters podcast. Thank you so much for listening. A lot of Division talk this week. We really got into that. Sort of kept us away from the topics, but I think it's good. There's a lot to talk about there. And let's see, we're changing the game club. So big dramatic drum roll reveal. It's going to kind of be what you know and love, but with some simple changes. And to detail those, I'm going to pass this over to Ryan.
Yeah, so there hasn't been a game club for a couple weeks, and that's because I've been rethinking how we're going to do that whole video series. And because of like time and money constraints, we are going to go ahead and do indie game club. And like I said, it's because of time and money. It makes it cheaper, it makes it faster to do. But also, indie games tend to be more innovative with their mechanics and the way they run. So I think it'll give us more interesting discussions rather than doing some of the bigger titles that don't really branch out too much. So so hopefully that'll also be easier on the listeners and the viewers because it'll be cheaper for you guys also to follow along and play the games with us instead of having to buy a $30, $40, $50, $60 game every week. It'll be $10, $20 maybe. So, those are going to be announced every Wednesday at the end of the show. And then the videos will be released every Wednesday with the show. So, like this Wednesday, we're going to announce the game. And then the following, we'll have the game club about it. And the new game that will be up for the following week will be announced that same day also.
I think that's good, man. I mean, I think discovery was always something that I thought would be a good part about Game Club, finding new and interesting things you hadn't played yet. So.
Yeah, I agree. We're still going to do like all the other titles, all the big titles and that kind of thing in our other videos, but Game Club is going to be reserved for indie titles. And I really encourage people to go out there, find some cool indie games and give us suggestions, because if you guys suggest games to us, we will play those games. So go ahead and let us know what you think about that.
All right, cool. I guess that brings us to the reveal for this week then.
Yes, and it is going to be Super Hot. That's going to be our first game.
That's a great game.
Which I believe all of us have, except me.
Yes.
I'll pick it up soon.
It's fun. That's going to be some good conversation. So, yeah, like Ryan said, if you want to recommend games, send them to selectcharacters@gmail.com. If you want to suggest a topic or just say hello, definitely send us an email. Or you can always drop by on the subreddit, reddit.com/r/selectcharacters. Twitter and Facebook, we are around, we're listening, and we would love to hear from you, so get in touch. And until then, as always, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
See you next week.